Hello, it's Wednesday, it's pouring here, but I want to talk about something very serious today. I think you all know one of my biggest pet peeves is a little knowledge being dangerous. So, when you're strolling through social media and someone tells you the one thing that is going to make you skinny or fix all your problems, that's a bunch of crap. So it's always more complicated. There is never a quick fix, and nothing is ever one size fits all. So now I'm going to jump down the bariatric surgery rabbit hole. And this is one of those things that it's like, what do they say, using a sledgehammer to kill a fly, something like that. The problem is that now many years ago, bariatric surgery was an extreme measure. It's still an extreme measure. But there were insurance companies didn't cover it. And they warned you that if you chose to go ahead and pay for it and not have the insurance company pay for it, if you chose to have that procedure done and paid cash for it, then the insurance paid nothing for any complications or any issues you had subsequent to the surgery down the road, assuming that's going to be the cause of the issue. And I will tell you, in my years of doing, in the medical field, I have seen so many people who had the surgery, did great with it, gained all the weight back. I also, in my almost a decade in nursing homes, in long-term care, I had more people, for one person in 8 years, to have seen almost double digits and be aware of, say 8-10 people have severe health issues because of bariatric surgery. I think that's a lot. Considering I'm one person. I had a limited amount of patients, and these patients were having issues with bariatric surgery. That's crazy. So here's my thing. You're doing major damage to your body when, I know it's not easy, but it's not easy, but it can be done, right? And it is a slow and steady process. Nothing gets done quickly, especially when you have a significant amount of weight to lose. Okay, it's unfortunate, but things take time. They do take time. So, what the problem is that when you do this non-reversible surgery to lose weight, you end up having long-term effects. So, and it does not address the root cause. If you're insulin resistant before, if you're inflamed, if you've got your hormones are a mess before the surgery, you're still going to have the same problems. So insulin resistance, it may improve with weight loss, but if you're not treating it, you're still having issues. Nutrient absorption, huge. I cannot tell you the horrible things I see after bariatric surgery. Malabsorption of iron, zinc, fat-soluble vitamins, your B vitamins, and you can't get this back. You can supplement, but I don't know if you've ever heard the saying that you cannot out-supplement a poor diet, and you can't. And when you do some any kind of bypass surgery, hi Susan, any kind of bypass surgery, you are making you're giving yourself a deficit for nutrient absorption. So you're putting yourself at major risk down the road. Long-term risk, something called dumping syndrome. This is, again, a nutrient deficiency. SIBO, where you have an overgrowth of bacteria in the small intestine. Gallstones, hair loss, brittle bones, those are specifically because of mineral deficiency. Brain fog. You know, all the things that you usually hear, the things that you are hoping to get rid of, bariatric surgery does not fix. And the statistics are 30 to 50% of people put their weight back on. That's a lot. If I, totally altered my physical being, and how my body worked long term forever and couldn't reverse it, and I put my weight back on, oh my gosh, I'd want to see the manager. But what happens is, metabolism crashes, and it's not because you're not trying hard. This is the problem. You didn't gain the weight because you were being lazy or because you were eating too much. When you become insulin resistant, when you have gut imbalance or hormone imbalances, those need to be corrected. Otherwise, you can do everything right. You can starve yourself and you can do extreme diets and it's just not going to work. Or what I always say about extreme diets is that if you follow an extreme way of eating for a certain period of time, it might work. But once you go back to normal eating or what you consider moderate eating, the weight's going to come back on if you aren't addressing the gut and the hormone issues. So we see it all the time. Now, also, these diets, it always blows my mind and annoys me because to start, you're on a liquid diet pre-op. Well, you're going to lose weight. Okay, it kind of gets everything ready. You're on a liquid diet afterwards. Yeah, you're going to keep losing weight. But they encourage, and their diet post-op is sugar-free, fat-free foods. This is chemical soup. It is the peak of the ultra-processed junk food that destroys your gut and your hormones. So not only are we destroying your body and, resecting your intestines so you're not able to absorb nutrient-dense food, but we're also encouraging sugar-free, fat-free, chemical soup processed foods that make your underlying problem even worse. So instead of, having better symptom relief, less brain fog, hormone balance, all of that gets worse. And throw on top of that, your body can't even absorb nutrients, even when you get that fixed. It's just horrible. Then, they encourage soft foods, which of course are low protein foods. Honestly, this is done because of the poor absorption. A lot of people have a difficult time absorbing proteins to begin with, because if your gut is out of balance, using PPIs, anything like that, if you're suppressing the acid in your stomach, you're not breaking your food down properly to be able to absorb the protein. So a lot of people end up being protein deficient, and even if you're eating enough protein, if your body is not breaking it down. So encouraging the soft food eating, that just, soft food, mashed potatoes, right? Carbs are easier to break down and absorb. Artificial sweeteners, again, the sucralose, the aspartame, all of that worsens insulin resistance. It just throws everything off. You all know, I'll interject this. My favorite low glycemic sweetener is allulose. It's natural, it doesn't have a funky taste, and it's much, much better. So there's very little education. I know that, pre-op, you need to see, a psychologist, and they need to make sure you're and most places make you lose some weight on your own, just so you know. But I'm telling you, they're teaching you low fat, low sugar garbage, not whole food eating and what your body needs and what your gut needs to break foods down. So it is a drastic move. You know, it's just a major drastic move, and weight loss can be done. Slow and steady always wins the race. And I totally understand that if you have that much weight to lose, you feel like you need drastic measures. But long term, you need to balance everything, learn about your gut, learn what natural, healthy foods, whole foods, nourish your body, and don't do anything to hurt your body from, you know, being able to break down and absorb all the nutrients so you can live a long, healthy life, right? So a couple things we need to know for sustainable weight loss. You know, I love my fasting insulin. If you don't have a fasting insulin level, get one. Have your PCP get one. I have one in my root cause panel. If you want to know all kinds of information and learn why you want them a certain way. Fasting insulin, we want less than 6. Normal goes all the way up to 26. We want it less than 6 because anything 6 or above is the start of insulin resistance. And that's when you start to have the difficult time losing weight. HOMA-IR, that's the calculation that you use with your insulin and your blood sugar. We want that less than 1. Hemoglobin A1C, we want less than 5.4, ideally 5.3 or less. Triglycerides, less than 80. Triglycerides, people mistake that for a cholesterol reading, and it is not. Triglycerides are directly linked to the amount of carbohydrates and highly processed foods that you're eating. ApoB, that's that tricky little, one special little sticky kind of cholesterol. That's the bad kind of cholesterol. And if you know that, you know you have a really good idea of what your cardiovascular risk is. Of course, TSH, free T3 and T4, always get more than just a TSH when you're talking about thyroid. TSH has little to do with thyroid function. You absolutely need at least 3 T4 and T3 and T4. Then ferritin and B12. So important to check these, and this is the problem with these minerals that are the spark plugs of your body's engine, your cellular mitochondria. When your minerals are out of balance, deficient, and not I don't even want to say optimal, but not even, on the low end of normal, right? You're going to have problems, all kinds of problems. I talk about minerals being like if you put bad gas in your engine, or, the spark plugs are dirty. And again, I don't know a whole lot about cars, and I use lots of car analogies, but if the spark plugs are dingy and dirty, you need to clean them off because there's no connection between the engine and whatever, the spark plug, right? So that's kind of how your cells are with minerals. If you aren't having the minerals, you're not getting the engine humming like it should be. And when you have a drastic surgery, guess what? You are not absorbing minerals. So you are always at a deficit and you will never be able to catch up. And it's a problem. So forget the surgery. Just small changes, it will happen. Small, consistent changes. Learn what your body needs. Learn how to replace highly processed, sugar-free, fat-free, chemical soup foods. Learn to replace them with healthy whole foods, and know what your gut needs to do to break down those foods and protein to absorb all the minerals and all the nutrition from that food. Our bodies are made to maintain balance and work like the most amazing machine you've ever known, right? We have to give it what it needs. And it's not that easy. Well, I will say it's simple, but it's not easy because cake is real. And once in a while we want it, but it's a slippery slope. So, protein. I know I sound like a broken record. Protein. Aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight, okay? So if you weigh 200 pounds and want to lose 50 pounds, then aim for 150 grams of protein, not 200. We're looking at calories, protein, and nutritional requirements or recommendations for your ideal weight, for the weight you're trying to get to. Carbohydrates, we want to keep carbs less than 30% of your total intake. If you're looking at grams, preferably less than 100 grams a day of real food. That's vegetables, potatoes, pasta, healthier breads, non-fortified breads. But I say you take a deep breath and you can get 100 grams of protein. Or not protein, I wish. You take a deep breath and you're inhaling 100 grams of carbohydrates. You get them everywhere. So focus on that protein. Again, you're going for a little bit of a calorie deficit, but we are not starving. If you eat real food and you shoot for your ideal protein requirement for the day and eat your veggies and try to get 40 grams of fiber, I'm telling you, you can't eat that much food in a day. What we can eat a lot of is the highly processed carbs because they are made to be addictive. And the more you eat, the more you want, the more you need, and it's horrible. So healthy fats, a good thing. 35 protein, 35 carbs, and 30 carbs and 35 fat. So 35 carbohydrates, 30. We want them the lowest. So please don't go do drastic things. Let's talk and we can get things turned around. You need to learn how to nourish your body. All right, soapbox over. I hope you all have an amazing day. I will be cooking something. I will be making something on Friday. Not quite sure. Also have my grandkids here all week, so it's going to be a fun week. They're keeping me on my toes. I might have help in the kitchen on Friday. Have a good one.